Nuggets twice this season. Can the Nuggets avoid a third loss? We'll have a pick and a prop.
Speaking of the NBA, a special segment for you tonight looking at NBA futures. Plus, we've still got another wild card game as the Steelers will travel to Arrowhead.
Is this it for Big Ben?
Yes.
You Bet Tonight starts right now. Welcome to You Bet Tonight, presented by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. The Nuggets will be at Ball Arena, a back-to-back as they took care of LeBron James and the Lakers. The most lopsided victory in Nuggets history against the Los Angeles Lakers. It gets a bit tougher tonight, though, as Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz are in town. Hello, everyone. Todd Romero alongside my partner, Nate Lundy, and a couple of tips on this day.
Yes.
Never bet against Tom Brady in the opening round, and never go to Costco on a Sunday.
Ooh,
I did the latter.
You went into the mouth of the lion.
It was a beast, man.
Oh, I love me some Costco, but you got to find the right times to go in there when you are not in the midst of a sea of humanity and people that don't know how to drive those cars.
It was a bad move. You know, everybody's in line for the free samples. It was just bad news all around. With that said, let's get to headline bets and get you rolling and try to put some green in your pocket.
Let's do it. Let's try to get back on the right track now that we've got Todd out of Costco. All right, we've got ourselves another wild card game tonight. This is the super wild card weekend, as the NFL has been calling it. Of course, it'll all wrap up tomorrow night, little Monday night football for you with the Rams and Cardinals. More on that later. But at Arrowhead tonight, the Steelers will come calling. Folks, the Steelers are not even supposed to be here, okay? If it had been up to me, I would have had the Raiders just take a knee. It would have been over with. The Raiders and the Chargers would have both made it to the playoffs, and Big Ben would already be planning where he wants to build his retirement home somewhere near Cancun, okay? So in this particular case, Kansas City laying 12.5, fine, go for it. I think Kansas City wins by 15, maybe 17 points by the time this is done, in part because I don't know how Pittsburgh is going to score. Ben Roethlisberger's arm is not what it used to be. Everything he needs to do, and it's going to play into some player props here in a moment, are going to be short passes, Todd. He doesn't have that cannon of an arm anymore that can get it downfield like what we used to see when he was paired up with Antonio Brown.
Well, and the other thing about Big Ben, he's never been huge and moving, but he could always slide in the pocket, and he's so big he could get out of trouble. But the problem with him is now it's just his time. This will be his last game, and he's had a great career, has won Super Bowls. But this Pittsburgh team, first of all, Chris Jones from the Chiefs is back. I mean, when they struggled, he wasn't playing well. The defense is playing much better for the Chiefs. They're going to put pressure on them. It'll be a loud Arrowhead Stadium. And anytime that road team's at Arrowhead, it just makes it tough offensively. They're going to try to run the ball, but I just don't think they're going to get it done.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Now we go to the total in this game. Now, full disclosure, full transparency. I promised you when we launched this show that I would do that. I can't stand this line, folks. Feet to the fire, I'm going to take the over on 46.5. We know that it was 36-10 the first time these two teams met. I think alone that Kansas City is going to do exactly what they just did in that first meeting. I think KC can put at least 35 to 38 on the board. So to hit this 46.5, I'm looking for Pittsburgh to figure out how to get at least one touchdown on the board, maybe a touchdown and a field goal combined. Then we get over this total. But if you're looking at it from a same-game parlay standpoint, something like that, buy the points down. Get it down to 43.5, get it down to 42.5, just in case Kansas City manages to do what we think could be the game script, which is completely suppress Pittsburgh's offense.
Yeah, and the one thing I think here is you can see, at the end of the Philadelphia game today, you saw a game that was 31-0, and all of a sudden a couple excuse-me scores. It got 31-15. All of a sudden you're up at 46 points. Something like that could happen in this game, like on a backdoor kind of cover thing.
Yep.
But I just don't know if the Steelers can score enough points. That number scares me. It's like right in the middle.
Yeah, it's right there. And I told you the magic number in the NFL, I've told you many times, is 47. All right, got 4 player props for you here. Let's start off. I got 2 of them back to back here for the Chiefs as we get started. Tyreek Hill. Last week, he's dealing with a heel injury if you haven't been paying attention to the injury reports. And you know Tyreek Hill, the cheetah, he's all about trying to get that speed downfield. Well, that heel, last week at least, was preventing him from being able to do it. I could see him being out on on the field and potentially be a little bit of a decoy tonight for Kansas City to be able to try to get the running game going. For that reason, I think 69.5 is too high on Tyreek's receiving yards. I'm going to go under on that one, but I just mentioned that running game, so let's talk about Darrell Williams for a second. His longest rush, 14.5. I'm going to take the under on this one as well. This is another guy that has not been getting up over this number. In fact, his longest against Pittsburgh 3 weeks ago was only 12 yards, so obviously underneath that 14.5, and he's only gone over once in his last 7. So, Todd, talking about this Kansas City offense, a couple of player props you can have some fun with. This is not the same Tyreek. This heel injury, and since he's come back from COVID, I'm sorry, he has not been the same. So I'm suppressing his number, and the same thing with Darrell Williams. I think he's going to get a lot of carries. I just don't see him breaking a long one.
All right, first time in a couple shows I'm going to disagree with you on one. Darrell Williams, I'm all over with you. I look back, the entire 17-game season, he's only gone over 14 yards twice.
Yep.
So I'm on board with you. I think that's a great bet because he just hasn't done it very often. I think Tyreek Hill, I think we're going to shoot the heel up. I mean, I know a heel bruise is bad. I'd rather have a heel than a toe. I think Tyreek Hill could go over that number, but that's just because I've agreed with you so much lately that I'm kind of feeling something different here, and I think they'll shoot that heel up.
All right, I get it. I can see exactly why. I think last week was a little bit of an indicator of what to expect.
Yeah,
all right.
I mean, it could be going out there, and he could be out in one play.
Yes,
you never know.
Absolutely he could. All right, 2 player props for you for Pittsburgh. Let's start off with Big Ben. We're looking at 23.5 pass completions. I'm going to take the over. I told you that I don't think there's going to be a lot of offense for Pittsburgh, but I think when you start getting into the dink and dunks, when you start involving Pat Freiermuth, when you start throwing the ball to Najee Harris out of the backfield, I think he can get up over this, and especially if they're scoreboard chasing. There may be a lot of movement for Pittsburgh between the 20s. They may not be able to score the touchdowns to be able to keep this game close with Kansas City favored by so much, but I do think he's going to hit this pass completions number. He's been over in 9 out of his 16 games this season. Then, speaking of Pat Freiermuth, we've talked about him a lot on this program as a player prop that we really enjoyed and that we've cashed a few tickets throughout the season. 3.5 receptions, too low for me. Again, dink and dunk, that is what Ben Roethlisberger is going to be doing, and what I think, and I think Todd agrees, is going to be his final game in the NFL. I think he's going to be able to get this tight end involved. Freiermuth is a great player. They have found themselves a franchise tight end that they can lean on for a while.
Yeah, I think Big Ben will go over simply because it will be those dink and dunks. Totally agree with you. He's gone over 9 of 17 times. Listen, Freiermuth, all you had to do was watch the playoff games up until this point. Look at today. We told you Gronk was going to get a touchdown. He scored a touchdown. Quarterbacks like going to the tight end. It's their security blanket. This guy's getting better and better. 3.5 isn't near enough. I think that he could be up near 7.
Yeah, I think he could have the 5, 6, and higher on catches, so I would absolutely hammer this one. It's my favorite player prop of the game tonight.
All right, it is a busy day. We have much more to come. As we told you, the Nuggets are in action, but much more as we look at other football games coming up. We got some NBA futures coming your way. Stay tuned. You Bet Tonight is brought to you by BetMGM Sports. Place your parlays, props, and futures bets at the king of sportsbooks. Get the app today. All right, welcome back into You Bet Tonight. It's time to take a little bit of a different course. We're going to talk about futures bets. And listen, how many times have you heard your buddy say, hey, I got the Broncos. This is back when they were good. Hey, I got the Broncos at 500 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, and you hold on to that ticket, and then it gets cashed. Well, this day and age, you can do it by your phone. You can do it right here on, You Bet Tonight by going to the sports book and doing it your way. And and going to MGM and figuring it out. And this, I think these are intriguing because the halfway point is you can still get some good odds. You want to get those odds when they're good and take a chance. So you look at the halfway point, kind of see where it's going and where it's headed.
So I've got a few of the futures categories here for you across the NBA. And what I did is I went and found for you essentially the top 3 of the odds and wanted to share with you where things are at, right now in that midway point of the NBA season, if you wanted to place a bet on these guys for the year-end awards, where you sort of sit and what kind of odds you can get. So let's start off with the Rookie of the Year. Evan Mobley is the odds-on favorite right now, and rightfully so. You can see that he's actually would be my pick. If I were making a bet right now, Mobley has been absolutely spectacular this season. He has really been a catalyst for the improvement of the team, and I think he's come out and shown exactly why he's got such a great future within the NBA. You can see on the board, we can talk about Scotty Barnes with Toronto. We can talk about Cade Cunningham with Detroit. I think the only way that Evan Mobley doesn't doesn't win this, Todd, is if, in fact, he gets hurt, if something happens down the stretch. Otherwise, these are your top three guys. It really is a three-horse race right now with Rookie of the Year. You can find some other names out there, but everybody is at plus 600 or higher. These are the three best odds right now, and I think it's really probably Barnes and Mobley, but Mobley's where I've got to give my lean.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it. Mobley's averaging 15, 8, and 2.7 assists. Yep. But then you look at Scotty Barnes. If you want to gamble a little bit that maybe Mobley's going to be out or something, I mean, Barnes is at 14.5. Almost 8 rebounds and 3.5, actually better assist numbers. If I'm going to gamble a little bit, because of the odds are at plus 400, I'll look at Scotty Barnes, but I think Mobley will probably win it.
Let's talk about Coach of the Year now when we look at the NBA.
Good candidates here.
Great candidates here. And frankly, I could see any of these three winning it, and I would be just fine with any of these three winning it. I think they're all very much deserving. Billy Donovan, Monty Williams, and Steve Kerr. But in this particular case, and you're going to see this when we talk about a couple other bets here later on in the segment, I think there's something to this Warriors team and the fact that they are going to continue to improve. Steve Kerr is cut from that Greg Popovich cloth, folks. He is smart about his players' minutes. He knows when to rest them. He knows when a game is in hand, and he doesn't need to be worried about, or most importantly, if there's a game that he's just willing to take a scheduling loss, he will do that and rest his guys because he understands an 82-game schedule plus the playoffs. And I think this Warriors team is going to continue to climb, and continue to turn some heads. And that's why I'm actually going to take Steve Kerr out of these three as the guy that I think can wind up being Coach of the Year at plus 450.
Listen, Billy Donovan's done a great job. He's got the Bulls leading the division. You take a look at Monty Williams. Listen, they lost their first 3 or 4 games. He's gone 31-6 since.
Yes.
But the thing about Steve Kerr, and this is what I look at when you look at veteran coaches, he's been around there for 8, 9 years now, and these guys continue to listen to him. Usually after that time, they're like, oh, come on, unless you're Phil Jackson or something, they don't listen anymore. He's got the pulse on his team, and he's got this team, I think, the favorite to win it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, he's cut from that Greg Popovich cloth. He understands how to be able to coach. All right, how about Defensive Player of the Year? Draymond Green is absolutely the odds-on favorite at a minus 150. Okay, Rudy Gobert. Give me Giannis. Now, there's 2 reasons I'm doing this. One, if you're going to give me plus 1,200 odds on the Greek Freak, I'm going to take it. And here's the other reason why I'm leaning this way. I believe that this Bucks team is going to start to have this trajectory like a plane taken off on a runway, Todd. I think they're going to continue to play better and better and better as the season goes. And when does this vote happen? Doesn't happen right now while you and I are talking about the odds. The vote's going to happen late in the season, and you're going to have recency bias play in. If the vote took place right now, Draymond Green would win it. But it doesn't take place right now, and I think there's time for Giannis to continue to step up his game. He is such a good defender in addition to being an offensive threat. So I'm taking Giannis, but it's because I like those 12-1 odds.
Yeah, and a lot depends on, does he get any MVP honors? What's going on with that? Okay, if he's not the MVP, let's give him the Defensive Player of the Year award. I'll say one thing. Rudy Gobert, the last 4 games he's missed, the Jazz have lost 4 games by double digits. It's the first time since 2013 that has happened. He's back in the lineup tonight against the Nuggets. I think he's spectacular as well.
Well, I already talked about Steve Kerr. Let's talk about the Golden State Warriors. And yes, Nuggets fans, you may want to plug your ears when I give you these next 2. When we talk about the Pacific Division, the Suns right now are at minus 135. You're going to give me plus 100 straight money odds on the Warriors? I'll take it because I think the Warriors can wind up taking the division. Again, Klay Thompson is a difference maker for this team. They were good before he rejoined the team. They are going to continue to be able to utilize him, and throughout the rest of the season, I think you're going to see this Warriors team step it up. And because of that, that takes us to who's going to win the West. And I'm going to take the Warriors at a plus 225. The Suns there at a plus 320, and you can see the Jazz, the Nuggets opponent tonight, at 5-1 odds. But I think the Warriors are likely to come out of the West again. You just made this team healthy again, reuniting the Splash Brothers. Again, division title, Western Conference. I've got plus odds on both of them with the Warriors as it stands right now with BetMGM.
And they got pieces, man. I mean, what they've done with Wiggins, the guy's a different player than he was before. When he's in Golden State, he's part of a better team. He's thriving. Some nights he'll put 30 in, and I think he's a player that's really going to be postseason-wise once you get Klay Thompson going pretty good. All right, we got much more to come on You Bet tonight. The Nuggets on a back-to-back taking on Utah. Listen, you want to get a little pride back here. You've been beaten twice by the Jazz. You Bet Tonight is brought to you by BetMGM Sports. Place your parlays, props, and futures bets at the king of sportsbooks, Get the app today. 50-degree day in the Mile High City on January 15th. Why would you want to live anywhere else? I mean, unbelievable, great stuff. All right, time to talk about those Nuggets who absolutely disposed of the boys from Tinseltown last night, put a whipping on them. The biggest Nuggets victory over the Lakers in their history. But tonight they run it back against the Jazz, a much better team. Although they've lost 4 straight, but they get Gobert back tonight.
Well, and remember, if you look across the fact that the Jazz have lost 4 out of their last 5, that victory, it was against the Nuggets. All right, in the last segment when I was giving some NBA futures, I said Nuggets fans weren't going to like me. You're definitely not going to like me now. I'm taking Utah minus the 4.5 here. This is just a tough matchup on a back-to-back. The Nuggets on the second night of a back-to-back are 0-4 against the spread so far this season. I just think this is going to be a tough matchup for them. They got up for the Lake Show last night. I would love to think that this team can do it again tonight, but a back-to-back, even at home, is a tough one to be able to do, especially against Donovan Mitchell and company.
Yeah, I also like, and I'm going to go against the grain, I kind of like the under in this one just to feel. The Nuggets have scored 140 and 133 in the last couple of games with Gobert back there, and the Jazz have lost 4 by double digits in a row. He makes a huge difference in what they do defensively. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong. I like the Jazz minus 4.5 in this one as well.
I wouldn't mind, what went viral on social media last night, that sort of meme that was created with Aaron Gordon standing over Russell Westbrook. I wouldn't mind seeing one of those of him standing over Donovan Mitchell tonight. That would make me happy. All right, speaking of Donovan Mitchell, let's get him up and ready on our player prop for tonight. His assist total set at 4.5. Yes, this one's juiced up at a minus 155. I think you could play this even to 5.5. I think he's good for a half a dozen assists in this contest. His career average is 4.7 against Denver in his matchups with the Nuggets. And his game log this season, they've played twice. He had 2 in the most recent, but he had 6 earlier this season in terms of dimes. And I think he's going to continue to try to move the ball around as much as he can and try to keep it away from the interior, try to avoid the problems that Jokic causes defensively. I think they're going to move it around the perimeter. I think Mitchell could wind up with a half a dozen assists in this one. So I like this one. If you want a same game parlay it, maybe take it at 4 or more. That's probably a smart play. But again, this is an opponent that Mitchell gets up for.
Yeah, hard to believe that he was a Nugget for just a minuscule second before that trade happened. But the other thing I forgot to say, too, is the Jazz are 9-0 in the division.
They are.
They have not lost a division game yet. Donovan Mitchell plays well against the Nuggets and plays all well around against them.
And look, that streak's going to come to an end at some point. I'm a little bit nervous about seeing it happen tonight. All right, we got some more NBA for you this evening as we roll through a Sunday evening with you. The Warriors are in Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. This one, let's look at the total, sitting at 216.5. Take the over with this one. Not high enough for me in terms of the pace of play between these two squads. They've been over in 4 straight meetings, and in fact, Minnesota has scored 122 or more in 4 out of their last 6 games. So they are just whipping up and down the court right now. The pace of play very high compared to what they were doing early on in the season. So I like this one to go up and over the 216.5 against the Warriors.
And there will be no Curry. There will be no Draymond in this game for everything that I looked at going in. Curry's got a hand problem. Draymond's out. Warriors are 5-5 in their last 10, so not playing their greatest basketball right now. You got to know when to put the gas, like we were talking about early with Steve Kerr. So, yeah, that's a low total, so that I think the fellas out there will run it up, and no Draymond Green.
And I think even if you've got to go to the bench if you're the Warriors, you've still got scoring that's available to you. We know that that's possible. It is a different team when you don't have Green, when you don't have Curry, when they're dealing with some of the injuries and health and safety protocols that they've done off and on over the course of the last month. But this is still a solid Warriors team. And as Todd was talking about when we were in the last segment, Steve Kerr knows how to get the best out of these guys. Even though he's been there for a while, his message and his motivation is not falling on deaf ears. So even though Minnesota is heavily favored in this one, I think heavily favored. You're going against the Warriors, you're favored by 4.5. That's heavy.
That's a big number.
That's a big number. That one, I was a little bit too nervous to take that one. I feel like this is going to be a 4 or 5 point game, but that total did not seem high enough for me. Part of the reason I think it's going to go over, Karl Anthony Towns, sitting on his points plus his rebounds. So not a full PRA. We're not including the assists here, just points and rebounds, 33.5. I think this is going to be close, but I think if I follow my narrative of expecting a high-scoring game, knowing what Minnesota has done in terms of that 122 plus in 4 out of their last 6 games, if that's going to happen, then Towns is going to be a big part of it. So I'll take the 33.5. I'll take the over. He's been over in 3 straight. The first meeting, Todd, he only logged 28 if you added it together. 21 points, 17 boards. but that's a heck of a performance by Towns to pull down 17 boards in the first matchup against Golden State.
The reason I like this bet is because who's not playing? Listen, Draymond Green affects more than just the player he's guarding. He's such good on the perimeter. He's able to duck in and pick up slashers, deflect basketballs. That changes their whole defense approach. He's that good a defender. That's why he's going to be up for Defensive Player of the Year. Without him in there, I think it makes it more likely that Karl Anthony Towns goes over that number. And that's the reason why I love that bet.
Yeah, I would agree. And by the way, quick programming note for you. Because of all of the day games tomorrow in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we are actually on tomorrow at 11 a.m. with a ton of NBA action to be able to talk about. So if you like the NBA bets that we get to, whether we're talking about the Nuggets or the rest of the league, make sure you join us tomorrow morning. We're on at 11, leading all the way up to Avalanche faceoff, but a lot to get to tomorrow because of all of those day games, especially for you basketball fans.
Absolutely. We come back. We have more to come on You Bet tonight. We're going to take a look at what football games on a Monday. That's right, football on a Monday night in the playoffs. Back in a moment. You Bet Tonight is brought to you by BetMGM Sports. Place your parlays, props, and futures bets at the king of sportsbooks. Get the app today. All right, time for a little look ahead. Tomorrow is MLK Day, and on that day, there will be some basketball as well as some football, including the final of the Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, we got the Super Wild Card Weekend, and they went ahead and gave us one game on Monday night, and that'll be the Rams hosting the Arizona Cardinals to put a bow on Wild Card Weekend. And in this one, I'm focused in on the total. I know it seems nuts, especially when you look at how these teams have scored against each other in their first two meetings this season. But again, we're coming down to the third meeting between them. I'm going to take the under on the 49.5, and this comes down to not just what I expect, the fact that Murray has been not really getting the ball down the field. He's averaging less than 7 yards per attempt. But let's call it the Matthew Stafford effect, shall we? Matthew Stafford has played in 3 playoff games in his career. He is 0-3. He has thrown 3 interceptions in those. And so I'm just expecting a lower scoring. I think this is going to be a struggle. I think Arizona's going to try to run the ball as much as they can. And speaking of interceptions, that'll be our early player prop for tomorrow night, by the way. Stafford to throw a pick, which you can get at the minus 120 odds. Folks, I think this is going to go up by the time we get to kickoff. I would grab it now if you can get it at minus 120. Again, 3 games he has played in the postseason in his career. He has thrown a total of 3 picks. He's also got 2 fumbles lost. Like, his game logs are not all that great when it comes to his postseason play.
And he's thrown, as you said, 8 picks in the last 4 games. He's just kind of not been in rhythm. I don't know that he can get rhythm. I think he probably will throw 2 picks. That's kind of where he's been. All right, how about ICYMI? 2-2 yesterday, but 6-3 overall. 1 was canceled out.
Yep, we had 1 voided out, so we're 6-3 over the last 2 shows. Let's see if we can continue our winning ways tonight. We've got Pittsburgh and Kansas City. I'll take the over on the 46.5. Pat Freiermuth way over, my favorite bet of the night, and 3.5 receptions for him. Tyreek Hill under on 69.5 on his receiving yards prop. Again, I think that heel's bugging him more than we think. The Jazz minus 4.5 against your Denver Nuggets at Ball Arena tonight. And finally, the Warriors and the T-Wolves up in Minnesota, 216.5. Take the over.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I like Freiermuth. I like Jazz. Unfortunately, hopefully I'm wrong there. And